in a Giver Wealth Tech Facebook page. We are live on Giver Wealth Tech Facebook accounts. Be there for us, and then you are going to get our numbers there. We are going to pin our numbers there. You can reach us. And first, let us get to understand who is the Shiro, the CPA. It will always be our first question.
Thank you, Shiko.
Yes.
Shiro is an accountant and has been an accountant for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been an accountant for the last 18 years in the financial services sector.
Wow.
And then I left the formal sector and came to Giver. And Giver, we deal with communities, money, creating wealth as individuals, and even creating wealth as groups. And the first group you create is a partner.
Of course.
So we create wealth for even as we help even small groups, a man and a wife. Yeah. Or even a man and a girlfriend, if they are heading towards that direction, that already creates the first, that's the first community that is formed even before we go and create now a bigger family, get children. Yeah. So we have to sort out that community first before we go to the next ones. All right. But in Giver, we deal with communities of all aspects. We deal with churches. We deal with neighborhood communities, welfare communities, work employee communities, all of them. We help them manage their financial needs, and then we get to the individuals and also help them save and invest their own personal money. Okay. Yes.
Wow, that is so sweet. From our last live discussion, and somebody told me that when it comes to community, you mean the Kijiji, ama? What do you mean when you say to a community? Like Giver for the community you are.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe you can repeat that bit.
Yes.
What do you mean when you say a community?
What I mean when I say a community is a group of people that come together. They may be coming together because they are playing a sport. They come together because they are worshiping. They come together because they are born together in one family. They come together because they pray in the same church or they worship in the same church. That's a community. So what we realized is that our communities, sometimes we're even a community because we work in the same organization. So what happens in our communities is that we don't come together to invest together or save together, but we come into our communities for different purposes. So now, but even when we are coming to pray together, somewhere along the way, you find that a financial need
arises.
One of us loses a loved one. One of us is getting married. There are all those things that come up. And eventually we find ourselves contributing towards helping that individual. Sometimes it's just to retain our community together. If you live in a gated community, you'll need to pay for security as a group.
Garbage collection,
all those collections that you need to do as a group. You find that currently there is no system that manages that for the groups. So we end up having to choose a treasurer. So today we choose Shiko as our treasurer. Tomorrow we choose Shiro as our treasurer. And as we continue moving this treasury around, sometimes money gets lost and our groups collapse. Our communities collapse.
So when we talk about community, it is a group.
It is a group of...
And the group is more than one person.
Yes.
Where you are not alone.
Where you're not alone and you're not necessarily coming together to save, but now Giver comes up and helps you manage all those things, all of them at the same time. Because right now, our social media platforms only help us with communication. Then we go to our mobile monies to help us collect the funds. So in Giver, you're able to do all of those things at the same time. You're able to communicate. You're able to collect money. You're able to keep the records. Right now we go and try to start keeping a record somewhere where we are updating a list. So in Giver, it updates for you that list automatically. And then finally, you're able to get those records. And this money, we keep it safely for you. We can send it to your bank account as a community, or we actually prefer putting it in a money market fund so that it can start growing. So now this group, instead of us waiting until we have a misfortune, and that is when we are scurrying around and running around, we are actually able to go, we can be able to save a little money at a time. Because when an emergency comes up, we are not ready.
It's something we never expected.
It's
we
something
were not prepared for.
Yes, and it trains us,
Yeah.
even at an individual level. That 1,000 shillings I'd kept in my pocket so that I can go for Valentine's tomorrow. If something happens to you now, I'll have to send it.
Yeah.
Because again, I have to appear in the community's list that I have contributed.
Yeah.
And that spoils my plans. Or even if I was saving for my child's school fees, I find that I get disorganized.
Yeah.
But if I knew that every month for this group I normally put away 1,000, then now I can put it in my financial plan.
Yeah.
And then now when the emergency comes up, the community has a kitty.
Yeah.
They can go into it and take care of the need.
Wow.
So now we stop running around, and that's what Giver is doing, giving communities a kitty, so that this place you are putting money, it's not being deducted. Like right now, when you put it in an account, in our normal account, they get deducted. In this one, instead of it getting deducted, it's growing. Wow. So if we put 10,000 shillings in a year, at least we'll find it is 11,000 shillings. Yes, but if we put it in an account, in a normal bank account, we'll find it is 9,500. Yes, so that is what we do in Giver.
Oh, thank you very much for informing us all about Giver and even educating us. And you can have our numbers on screen. You can have our numbers on screen so that you can send your question. You can contact us. We are going to give you our office's location. You can visit us as an individual, visit us as a group, and then you continue learning more how to open and how to get your Giver account on your phone, because it is an account.
Yes. It is an application. You can find it as in the phone. You're also able to find it in in what we call it, a web platform. Yes, a web platform, so that now even if you don't have a laptop, you don't have a desktop, you can actually be able to find it in a cyber, and you're able to get in.
Wow, we will come to that some other time. Today we want to talk something about now. I guess if you're working now, it's just here.
Yes.
And today I was somewhere, you know where you are. And then came this person, and ataka gari ya red. This is not the one I want. You promise this. Kwani hauko umejipanga na do? Kwani wewe ni mtu wa aina gani?
Yes.
I just enjoyed the conversation. Yeah. Let us understand the different types of personalities when it comes to finances.
Yes. Wow. We jumped right into it, huh?
You know, in Chinese language, we say, "Ushakuragu gamu, shomigati," and then you hear another one say, "Lakini muitagi." I mean, there is that spoiler.
Yes.
Kuna yule wa ni ngumu kutoa
kabisa,
like haizisaidia hata anzi kupata damu akifa. And you are like, this is my man, this is my woman, this is the person I'm getting married to. And so how do I cope with this? What are the different personalities that we have?
Wow, you know, even before I go to the personalities, the most interesting thing about Valentine's Day is that a lot of people don't celebrate it. There's a lot of anger, a lot of expectations that are not met. And then there are people who almost like want to spoil it every year. And it's a very interesting situation. But anyway, let's jump right into it.
Yes, let's look at the personalities. Yes, some other time we will see, because we still have next year. For those, let me not say for those of us, for those of them. You see, already as we are out for Valentine, ours is starting right now. We have saved for this. For those who have not saved for that, there's next year. We will tell them the way through to start their small savings for next year.
That is true.
Yes.
So money personalities are just like usual personalities, you know, like sometimes when we go to talk to people, you're told that one is very talkative. Then there's somebody you'll find, then people will describe them and say this one is normally very quiet. So and then in ordinary language you say this one is an extrovert, this one is an introvert. It's the same thing with money. And just like our ordinary personalities are driven by energies, even our money personalities are driven by particular energies. Because for you to actually discover why am I this kind of a personality, it means there's a particular, when I mean energy, there's a particular thing that drives you to be that particular kind of a money personality. And a lot of times, where do they come from? we pick our money personalities a lot from our parents.
Okay.
They
So
come
it's
from our
something inherited.
it's I don't want to say it is inherited. I want to say it's learned. And you see, your first teachers are always your parents. So you'll either be observing how your dad behaves with money, you'll be observing how your mom behaves with money. And then they're always talking about money. Also, there's a way they understand money. Like when I was growing up, my mom kept on telling me that every time money sees her, it runs away.
Oh my goodness. Or it gets feathers.
And so I knew money was a difficult thing to get.
Yes.
So your environment as you're growing up, it creates the kind of a personality that you get. Again, sometimes it may not be what your parent is doing.
Yes.
It may come from now you're trying so hard not to be like your parent that you get a different personality. For example, supposing your dad was very mean, you may grow up, or your mom was very mean, you may grow up and decide, I don't want to be like my dad. Exactly. So you'll go to the opposite side and now become, somebody something different. So that is where it comes from. And the importance of knowing about your money personality is that it helps you now learn to manage your money in a better way. So first of all, every change starts with awareness, personal awareness. What kind of a person am I? So always, every change, you also have to go weigh yourself and realize, here, I am 90 kilos. I am overweight. Yes. Now I need to change. But before you actually acknowledge where you are, you have awareness, then you are struggling all the time. You can't change. So that's why we start with what are the money personalities that we have. And then now once we learn our own money personalities, we get to also understand our spouse's money personality. And then also understand that our children are going to take our money personalities. So that is why this is so important. Because when I understand your money personality, I'm able to handle it better. And then I'm also able to tell, is that the same thing I want to my son to grow up knowing? That money sees us and runs away. Because then what kind of a human being is he? How is he going to react to that? Do I teach him abundance or do I teach him a scarcity mentality? So there we go.
Wow, and that's a nice one. That's a nice one, and I'm eager to know the various money personalities that we have. Oh wow, we are coming to there. I like that. You grew up knowing money got legs.
Yes, when it's so us. You can imagine now what kind of a person, you develop even some complex, because when money sees you, it runs away. So it's an issue. So let's start with the first one. Yes. There are 4 types of.
There are 4 types of money personalities.
Yes. And so when we talk about a personality, we'll describe it. Then we will go ahead and write and discuss what energy drives this personality.
And maybe before we get to the first type of personality, does it change? Can one change? Maybe with scarcity of money, or when I have money, I'm this. When I don't have, I'm that. Can this personality change?
It changes, it actually changes, but you have a dominant personality. It's just like other personalities. You may be an introvert, but a time comes you go quiet. Maybe you've lost a loved one. You are still not, you can't be the one, So in different circumstances, your money personality is likely to change, but then you have a dominant one, and we will be able to tell what that personality is by looking at, we call it an asset portfolio, or or your portfolio generally, and that's what we'll be looking at. So we look at,
when you say portfolio, you mean like the behavior.
Let me describe it. Let me describe your portfolio as a person. Yes.
To the common language.
Yes. So we are looking at who is the characteristics.
Exactly.
But now from a financial perspective, and we'll also look at a few other things. So number 1, the first money personality is we call it a peacock.
A peacock. That's a money personality.
Yes.
I can only try to imagine. The peacock.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is why it's called but in layman terms, that's a spender.
Oh, peacock is a spender.
Yes, peacock is a spender.
And
yes. So now a peacock, a peacock is described like that because what does a peacock do? A peacock has very spends a lot of, every time the money gets into their pockets, the first thing they do is that they buy a lot of things. But then what is the energy driving them? It's outward bound. It's what do I see? When they're driven by what do people see when they look at me, so that's what drives them.
I can also say it's peer pressure.
A lot of, yes, but I wanted to be polite and call it outward bound energy, just to be politically correct. So this person will have, of course, then a lot of bling, a lot of very flashy cars, and a lot of times you find that a lot of flashy things. And if I always look at it, if I were to give 3 people 100,000 shillings, this person will be wondering, and when will Shiro stop talking? Because I know it's iPhone 14 or 15. It is going for 100, yes. And that person will go buy that iPhone, and then he'll go home and find there is no food.
Yes.
That is a spender.
So there's always a list.
There's always a list, because
right now I know what to do.
Yes, and it may not, it's not something that it's not helping me as an individual. I'm more outward bound is what do people see. So you'll find that this person will have a lot of flashy things, a lot of expensive things, even when we know they are not able to afford them. That doesn't mean that other personalities don't have those things. They do, but then you'll find maybe that person is sitting proper. They should have that a phone. They should own that, depending on what they have. So that person is driven by outward bound. Is looking more at what the world is seeing in them. So let's look at their investment portfolio. What assets have they invested in? Okay. So what happens is that these spenders have a very high need for money, because they need a lot of money. So they also then, because of their need for money, they make very, you see, where you're telling them, if you put 100,000 here, it will double, because they have a very high need for money. So they end up having very risky investments. And
like they want where money is going to kuzana there and then.
Yes, very quickly, because they need it to grow very quickly and go and do it. But if you tell them, and when Shiro comes and tells them put money in a money market fund, it will give you 10% after the end of the year. They ask me, so if it's 100,000, how much will it be? And I say it will be 110%. 110. They're like 10,000 after a whole year only, because they want to hear by the end of the year it will be 200,000. But where do you make 100% return? So what ends up happening, because rules of investments are simple. The higher the risk, the higher the return. But then a lot of times then their investments collapse because they are very high risk. So they either have high investments, high risk investments when they are working, but a lot of times then they don't have any, because they can't wait for it to grow. That person also, when we come up with a list of contributions, they're the first ones to say, write my name there, and put 20,000 shillings. The high side. So people have to see that, even when,
of course, people have to see.
Yes, then this person will try to fuliza now.
Oh my goodness.
Because remember, their expenditure is so high that it doesn't matter how much they earn, their expenditure is always above that.
So these people, money personalities, they are beyond their earnings.
Because of that need to show people. So even when they earn so much, they still live beyond it. It's not that they don't earn enough. They earn enough, a lot of them, but they still want to show they are more than they can. So their contributions are high. But what does that mean? On the flip side, it also means their social capital is very high.
Watu wa watu.
Ni watu wa watu. Okay? So if he has an event, you will find that in that event there's a lot of contribution. But when you go, because this person now, because as they become so much driven by the outside world, they also tend to neglect the important things in their lives, including their families. Okay? So then there is tension at home. You can imagine you don't even have money, and then suddenly you find your spouse's name is at the top of a list. And you didn't even have school fees, your child is at home. It will definitely cause a lot of a lot of problems.
Of course.
So
Okay.
so in terms of they also then tend to, so their social capital is very high.
Very high.
Unfortunately, social capital is a very current asset. You know what I mean by current? It's not a long-term asset. If I helped you a year ago, then I went broke,
Yeah,
and I have a need,
you'll not be there for me.
You won't be there for me.
Oh my goodness.
So
it's what we say. You called it what? The social
capital.
The social capital.
Yes.
I have all these kind of people. All these friends are together with me because of what they can get from me. But when my time comes,
yes,
you'll not be there.
No, they can't. They may not. If you have maintained, it's okay. But social capital tends to have it has a sell by date. So the minute you fall off, then your social capital tends to fall off with you. You understand? Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
If the last time I gave and I was able to give money was 3 years ago, then I have fallen from that group of friends. And even if I have a problem, they'll come here and say, oh, Najwa, you know the way we say in Kikuyu that a child who is alive is never thrown. So
That is the translation.
It is the yes. So they'll come holding some small amount and give them to me. So their social capital is usually very high. But then unfortunately it is not a currency you can trade in for the long term. So that's what I called a portfolio. But then these guys also have a lot of liabilities, because sometimes I have to borrow from you to be able to go and buy somebody else a drink. I have Fuliza. So what we also say is that they have a lot of debts. Akona Fuliza, akona, ingine, quite a number of debts.
So this person lives on loans all the time.
Yes. So they are quite broke. So they are quite broke and that, but it's not a bad, these people, when you come up with the personality. Yes, they are very hard.
They know how to look for money.
They know how to look for money. It's only that they live beyond their source of income. Yeah. Okay. So that is so you know now, as I talk about this all the time, the most interesting thing about when you're in a relationship, people don't see themselves. So the other. So I know out there's someone who's looking at the other and saying, umejisikia.
Can you call that person for me? Shout to a
yes, ajisikia hapa asikie what, but it's a very, very rampant. So the next one,
we said there are 4.
Yes, we said there are 4. Peacock is number 1 as a spender. Then we have an ostrich. Yes. An ostrich actually doesn't have another name. It's just an ostrich, and it's called an ostrich because an ostrich tends to bury its head in the sand. And that is what that particular personality does when money is mentioned. They bury their head and jificha. The energy driving that personality is fear.
Oh my.
It's fear. Because they fear, money is scary. It's not even the risk. We've been told money is the nini of all evil, is the root of all evil. They are afraid to be poor. There's a lot of fear around managing. So the driving force is fear. So instead of, and I don't even know how to plan it. So what happens with this person is that instead of actually developing a plan, they don't. They get their money, they put it in the pocket, and they will.
Me and my money.
That is not that one. We'll get to that one. So this one will spend, but he does not. He'll be. This is a kind of person who puts their salary. Then rent is 10,000. They go and remove from the bank account without looking at how much has remained. They pay for the rent. Then they are told we need food. Then they buy the food.
5,000 for the food.
Yes, gas imesha. But you see, the other unknown ostrich, we look at it and say, I've earned 50,000 shillings, 10,000 will go here, this other one will go there, make a plan. But this one does not make a plan because they're too worried.
Oh, ostrich does not make a plan.
An ostrich does not make a plan. They are too worried, so they are fearful.
This ostrich will spend.
Yes.
But without a plan.
Without a plan. And not because they don't want to make a plan, but because they fear. they don't want to face the reality that this money will get finished, that this money, they won't even read about money. Most likely they didn't even join us because when we talked about this, they don't want to learn about it.
Want to hear money mentioned.
Yes. So what happens with this person is, number one, their investments are very low because again they don't learn about money. They are just they are under there somewhere hoping that everything will just be okay. So they don't want to engage. So they don't have any investments because they haven't even listened to what kind of investments are there because they are not even sure they can make the right plan. Their social capital, they know it. Oh, so and so lost their mother. Okay, they will go to the list of the people who are being updated and see there the most people I have contributed 1,000. They will send 1,000.
Oh, you do because they are doing.
They are not, they're just playing safe. Those people who are constantly, who you come and say, this glass is not good. If I say that person is here, I say this glass is not good.
And she's also not good.
Then they say, yeah, it's not good. Then you come and say, no, this glass is beautiful. Then they'll also agree with you. So that is they are worried. They can't make a decision alone on their own. So their social capital is okay. And that's why a lot of people are there. Because if I were to ask our listeners, how many of them have a financial plan?
They can tell us. They can tell us.
Have they done a budget? Or are they just living? That's why you find from the 20th, mwezi kokona. And now from there, we are wondering, how are we surviving from here to up to the end of the month? And everybody is just surviving, Because, but had they made a plan, they would have known not. Now, what happens is that at the end of the month, we all go and eat chicken. Tunaenda huko, tunakula chicken. By 10th, sasa tumewachana na chicken, tumeanza mayai.
The products of a chicken. No. At the end of the month, we are eating chicken.
No, at the beginning of the month, because we've been paid at the end of the month. We are only eating chicken.
Yes.
Mwezi ikiendelea, tunaanza kukula
products za chicken.
Yes. By the end of the month, unajua tumejoin chicken pale kwa kuscratch.
So we are doing chicken food.
Yes. We are doing chicken food. Now we start scratching that. So that's the holder. And so their social capital is okay. They don't have liability.
Okay.
Unless it is because they are afraid. So they also won't get even the good debts. Like they need to. You see, when you have a financial planning, that's when you know, let me go and take a loan and start this business. You've done your calculations. You've seen, if I buy this number of shoes, I'll sell them and get back. So that's the ostrich. Let's move on to.
I understand. Kusandulia kwa mfuko kama baby.
That one, yes, that is the one. Yes.